Indian polity, working of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. The Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on the separate state of the Pakistan. The meeting was thus attended by only 211 members. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha, the oldest member, was elected as a temporary president of the assembly following the French practice. Later, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president of the assembly. Similarly, both S. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnamachari were elected as the vice presidents of the assembly. In other words, the assembly had two vice presidents. Objective of the resolution. On December 13, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the historical objective resolution in the assembly. It laid down the fundamentals and the philosophy of the constitutional structure. It read, Number 1. This Constitutional Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up her future governance a constitution. Second, wherein the territories that now comprise British India, the territories that now form the Indian states and such other parts of the India as are outside India and the states as well as the other territories as well are willing to be the constituted into the independent sovereign India shall be a union of them all and number 3 wherein the said territories, whether with their present boundaries or with such others as may be determined by the Constituent Assembly and thereafter, according to the law of the Constitution, shall possess and retain the status of the autonomous units together with the residuary powers and the exercise all powers and the functions of the government and administration save and expect such powers and the functions as are vested in or assigned to the union or are inherited or the implied in the union or the resulting therefore and Number 4, wherein all power and the authority of the sovereign independent India is constituent parts and the organs of the government are derived from the people. And number 5, wherein shall be guaranteed and secure to all the people of the India justice, social, economical, and political equality of the status of the opportunity and before the law, freedom of the thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association, and action subject to the law and the public morality. And number 6, wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for the minorities, backward and the tribal areas and depressed and other backward classes. And number 7, whereby shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the republic and its sovereign rights on the land, sea, and air according to the justice and the law of the civilized nations. And number 8, this Asian land attains its rightful and honored place in the world and make its full and winning contribution to the promotion of the world peace and the welfare of the mankind. This resolution was unanimously adopted by the Assembly of the January 22, 1947. It influenced the eventual shaping of the Constitution through all the subsequent stages. Its modified version formed the preamble of the present Constitution. Changes by the Independent Act. The representatives of the princely states who had stayed away from the Constitutional Assembly gradually joined it. On the April 28, 1947, representatives of the six states were part of the assembly after the acceptance of the Mountbatten Plan of the June 3, 1947 for the partition of the country. The representative of the most of the other princely states took their seats into the assembly. The members of the Muslim League formed the Indian dominance also entered the assembly. The Indian Independence Act of the 1947 made the following three changes in the position of the assembly. Number 1, the assembly was made a fully sovereign body which could frame any constitution it pleased. The act empowered the assembly to abrogate or alter any law made by the British Parliament in relation to the India. Second, the assembly also became a legislative body. In other words, two separate functions were assigned to the assembly, that is, making of the constitution for the free India and setting of the ordinary laws for the country. These two tasks were to be performed on the separate days. Thus, the Assembly became a first parliament of the pre-India Dominions legislature. Whenever the Assembly met as a constitutional body, it was chaired by the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and when it met at a legislative body, it was chaired by G.V. Malvankar. These two functions continued till November 26, 1949, when the task of the making constitution was over. Number 3, the Muslim League members headed for the areas including in the Pakistan withdrew from the Constitutional Assembly of the India. Consequently, the total strength of the Assembly came down to 299 as against 389 originally fixed in the 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. The strength of the Indian provinces, formerly British provinces, were reduced from the 296 to the 229, and those of the princely state from the 93 to the 70. The state-wise membership of the assembly as the declared 31st 1947 is other functions performed in addition to the making constitution and setting the ordinary laws. The Constitutional Assembly also performed these following functions. Number 1, it rectified the Indian membership of the Commonwealth into the May 1949. Second, it adopted the national flag on the July 22, 1947. It adopted the national anthem on the January 24, 1950. It adopted the national song on the January 24, 1950. It elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as first president of India on the January 24, 1950. In all, the Constitutional Assembly had 11 sessions over the 2 years, 11 months, and the 18 days. The Constitution makers had gone through the Constitution of about 60 countries, and draft Constitution was considered of for the 114 days. The total expenditure incurred for making Constitution amounts 46 lakhs. On January 24, 1950, the Constitutional Assembly held its final session. It, however, did not end and continued as the Provisional Parliament of the India from the January 26, 1950 till the formation of the new Parliament after the first general election into the 1951 to and 52. Thank you very much.